start, as a matter of fact. I'm starting this party. Get in there. Welcome to Hopkins County 1 Million Cups. I'm so excited everybody's here today. I see at least one familiar face that's a new face to us. Have you ever? Once, okay, a few times, that's right, you have. I was sleepy, I was drinking a lot of coffee, but I'm so happy to see you this early in the morning when you don't have to. That is awesome for all of you. If you didn't get coffee, you know where it is. Go out and get yourself some coffee. I'm really excited this morning to get to introduce somebody that I've gotten to know really well over the last few months. We have been spending a lot of time together at her studio and at my studio, and I just think what she's doing here is amazing. And it's, as she says in her intro, I'm not going to steal her thunder, but it is yoga for every body. You know, sometimes a lot of us have a concept of yoga that you have to be really limber and tie yourself in knots and do all that kind of stuff, and you don't. I go to her yoga classes and I'm like, woo! And by the way, I want to explore, before I officially introduce her, I want to say that there is a beginner's class starting June 17th. It's at 6 p.m., is that right? 6:15, and a bunch of us are going. I'm going because a lot of my clients are going, and I want them to feel comfortable, so I said, yeah, if you'll do it, I'll do it, because they need to get into something. So I've got a bunch of people going to it. It's going to be, you still have openings?
I do.
Yay! And it's going to be really fun, and it's very just, you know, if you always thought you might want to do yoga but weren't sure about it, this is when you should do it. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Hilary Lowbridge of Home Yoga.
That was so brilliant. Can I put my water in front of you?
Absolutely.
I like to hydrate. Hello? Sorry. No, you're fine. So I found out this morning that I'm like the only person. So I get to talk for 12 minutes. And then you can ask me questions for 48. No. Stand up. Bear with me. Just bring your feet about hip-width apart. Let's just take a deep breath in, reach the arms up. And let it go. And again, inhale. And exhale. You can let out a little sigh. You can do it one more time. Inhale. Yeah. Good. Then just pause, standing. Bring your left hand over your heart, your right hand over your belly. Close your eyes. And just start to take some deeper breaths in and out through the nose. Let's just set an intention for the day. Whatever you need to pull into your life today, if it's peace, if it's courage, if it is tenacity, if you need some strength for what you know is ahead. Just visualize that. Pull it in. And then take one more deep breath in. Fill up as deep as you can. And then open the mouth, let it go. Release your hands. Put a smile on your face. Good morning. Namaste. You can sit down. So if I'm standing right here, if I stand right here, and I start walking, and I walk, and I walk, and I walk for like a really long time. Let's say I walked for 20 years, and I walk. Eventually, I'm going to end up somewhere way out there in the horizon, like this one point, right? From here, all the way up there. I'm going to get tired in my life. Probably need to do some yoga and stretch, but I'll end up there. If right now, in this moment, before I start walking, I just make a 1 degree shift. That's probably a little more than 1 degree, but you get what I'm saying. And I start walking, and I start walking, and I start walking, and I start walking, and I walk for 10 years. Eventually, I end up somewhere that way, right? And so I started here, and I made a 1 degree turn. But where I end up, I mean, think if I really walked that long, where I would end up would be miles and miles and miles and miles apart, right? On that big, big circle of where I could walk right now. And so that's the 1 degree shift. I can make a 1 degree shift right now in my life and end up in a completely different place I never imagined. And that really is the story of my business. We can just stop and go home now. My name is Hilary Lowbridge, for those of you I don't know, and I'm so honored to be here today. I'm excited. And I own and operate a yoga studio in Madisonville, Kentucky. And you have my little bio on your sheet and my logo. I started doing yoga, practicing yoga when I was 18. And I started practicing for probably the same reasons that you might secretly be thinking, Carol's right, I should take that beginner series. Because I was stressed out, I was a sophomore in college, and I was super busy, and my body hurt. And someone said, we'll do some yoga. So I got this, I'll admit it was a VHS tape. All right. It was a VHS. And I got this VHS tape and I started doing it, and then I stopped doing it because I got busy again. And it took me a really long time to realize this connection between how my life was going and this yoga practice. So I started then. That was the beginning. And then on and off, it sort of ebbed and flowed. I would practice yoga, I wouldn't practice yoga. I would practice yoga, I wouldn't practice yoga. And then as it went on, I realized, wow, when I'm not practicing, I don't feel great. And when I am practicing, things just seem a little better, right? So after 10 years in college admissions at 3 different universities, I was a little burnt out of climbing the totem pole of higher education, and I, one day, chucked it all and went to yoga school in Western Massachusetts, in Stockbridge, Massachusetts, the Kripalu Center for Yoga and Health. And I did a month-long intensive training. I lived there in this big, beautiful building. It's the largest holistic health and yoga center in the country. And I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a plan. I just knew I needed to do something different. So when I moved to Madisonville, Kentucky in 2009, my parents had lived here for about 10 years prior. When I moved here, there was one yoga class a week. Katie Williams taught it at the YMCA, and I started going. It was one night a week, Thursday nights at the YMCA. And I went, and there weren't that many people there. And I had moved from Columbus, where yoga was big, and we were all doing yoga, and there wasn't a lot of yoga. So then about a year after that, I went to yoga school, and I came back. And I knew there was a need here for this practice, for the benefits of this practice, which we can talk all about later on if you're interested. And so I came back and I just made this choice. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I made a choice. I'm just going to start teaching. So I called my best friend in town and I said, hey, guess what? I'm coming over 2 times a week. You're going to pay me $5 each time and I'm going to teach you yoga for an hour. She's like, oh, okay, cool. So I did. I started with her and I was terrified. And then I called the YMCA. And I said, hey, I got my yoga certification. I want to teach yoga. And they said, cool, teach yoga class on Saturdays. So I started teaching Saturdays. And then Katie decided, or Beverly was teaching a class then, and someone decided not to teach, and I said, well, have my Thursday class. So I started teaching that class. And then people started coming. And they started coming, and they liked it. They were feeling good. And then I called the YMCA and said, you know what? People are coming to yoga. Why don't we add some classes? So we added a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class. So then we had 5 classes or something like that. And then Curbs called me, and they said, will you teach yoga? We're hearing good things. I said, oh, sure, I'll teach. And then Elements called, which actually I think I taught in this room. This might have been Elements. Elements called and said, will you teach? I said, sure, I'll teach. And then Myers Martial Arts called and said, will you teach yoga? I said, oh, yes, I'll teach. MCC called, will you teach yoga? Yes, I'll teach. So I just said yes to everything, like everything. I knew I needed as much experience. I needed to fall down over and over again, and really mess up continually to keep learning and to develop my voice as a yoga teacher. And so that's what I did. I just did what I wanted to do. I taught yoga, and I taught it all over. And I was running around like a crazy woman, as you can imagine, at 5 different locations, just driving from here to here to here. And then private students. I started getting private students, so I started teaching in people's homes. And then I started leading a meditation group in my own home. And so I was really, really busy. And I still didn't have a plan. I'm just going to keep honing this craft. I'm going to keep honing this craft. I'm going to try to get better and better and better, and I'm going to try to keep learning. And so I did more trainings. And I went back to Kripalu with the support of the YMCA, who I will forever love and adore. And I kept teaching, I kept teaching, I kept teaching. And people started saying, why don't you open a place? Why don't you open a studio? And I was kind of like, oh no, I can't do that. And then one day, I was walking that path, and I was walking, and I was teaching, and oh, namaste, oh, teaching. And then all of a sudden, I made a 1-degree shift. I said, maybe I should try it, maybe. So I had 5 years of teaching in Madisonville, Kentucky. before I actually took the plunge and opened the studio. So actually just this year, just 2 months ago, which seems crazy to me, I opened a home yoga studio, or Hilary Lowbridge Yoga LLC is my official business name. And home, my logo, has a word in it. And it worked out really incredibly well. My sister's sister-in-law, Natalia Solis Wharton, opened a dance studio called Stellar Dance Center. And she had some extra space. And even then, I still wasn't completely sold on the idea, but she said, you know, taking yoga with you gave me the courage and the tenacity to actually open this business. So if you gave that to me, why don't I give that to you? I said, okay. And so I left. I took this big leap or a 1-degree shift, however you want to look at it, and I opened a business. And I did all the things on the checklist, and I went to the city office, and I registered with the Secretary of State, and I started with the federal people, and it was very exciting. I thought there was going to be like a big party when I got my EIN number, you know, balloons were going to fall from the sky. They were like, congratulations. No, it's just an email. Thanks, guys. A little anticlimactic. So now I have this business, and as is probably obvious, it's only 2 months old, so it's very new. However, and probably because of 5 years of walking and walking and walking, because of those 5 years, it exceeded all expectations immediately. So the very first month, I was absolutely shocked by the response. I thought that I would maybe get a small, maybe 30% of my Y students might come. But the Y was included in their membership, maybe not, I didn't know. Much greater percentage came, but more importantly, I think, not that they're not important, I love them, but more importantly, I started getting new people, and the word started to spread. And I used social media a lot. I used social media. Over the course of these 5 years, I think I inadvertently, without putting tons of thought into it, developed a brand and developed a certain voice and a certain message that really resonates. And that is similar to what Carol said, that yoga practice is for everybody and every body. You don't have to be a size 2 and running 5Ks every 3 days and be able to twist yourself into a pretzel. People will say, I'm too dirty, or I'm not flexible enough to do yoga. And I said, well, that's like saying you're too dirty to take a shower. You know, yoga will teach you that. So I developed a message, and one of them was, I used the hashtag of reality yogi. I consider myself a reality yogi. I do yoga, but I'm a real person. And I have real person struggles and problems and likes, you know, like reality TV. I like sometimes I like French fries. You know, I like these things that people don't associate with yoga. And so I started using social media to kind of begin to spread this message that the reality yogi, you know, you can do your yoga and watch your housewives at the same time. You can have French fries and then go to your vigorous yoga class, and that's okay. We're humans, and that's the point. And I also developed a few other things along those lines, just different ways of connecting with different audiences through social media, and that's really been very key, I think, in my growth and in the success of my business thus far, is using social media, Facebook, Twitter, blogs, my website, forgetting what Instagram. And so here I am, and offering lots of different programming, trying to connect with lots of different audiences. It's a work in progress. People will tell me of something they think that I should do. I get lots of, it's funny when you open a business, I'm sure you guys have all experienced this, suddenly everyone has a lot of advice for you. Everyone has a lot of opinions on what you should be doing. Like they never spoke to you before, but now they're texting you and telling you exactly what you should be doing with your business. But I love that, I like the feedback. And I like to take that and see how can I rearrange things and what kind of programming can I develop that is in line with my message, in line with my brand, and serves a need in the community. So ultimately, I see this business growing and growing. And although I just made myself sound like someone, you know, a wanderer who had absolutely no intention, just sort of landed into this, that's not entirely true. I think that we're constantly on a journey, and we're constantly evolving, and we're constantly shifting and changing. And in retrospect, I realized I sort of knew this all along. I just wasn't completely aware of it, but I knew all along this is what I wanted to do. So I see the business growing, and I'm trying to stay present. One of the great things about being a yogi is that you learn to be present in each moment and go moment by moment. So right now, my focus is I go class by class. Every class I teach has to be the best class. Every class I teach, that is my focus. If my teaching suffers, I have nothing, I have no leg to stand on. So I focus class by class. At the same time, I'm thinking bigger picture. What do I ultimately see happening? What do I ultimately want to happen with this business? What am I going to need? And how can I start to plan a little bit, even as I'm going class by class by class by class, and staying grounded and focused. So I'm incredibly excited, if you can't tell. I know I'm not a very enthusiastic person, and not at all excited type, but today I am. I'm very excited about the business. I'm incredibly humbled and honored by the support I've received from the community. And I think that when you can look into your community and actually stop and think, what can I do to help? What can I do what do people need? What do I have to offer? And then form a business out of that, I think that's a great starting point. I think that's a great launching pad for anyone. What am I good at? What am I passionate about? What do I see? Where does that connect in the community around me? And how can I serve a need? And I think that's what I am doing, or at least what I'm trying to do. And I will stop. If you can't tell, I can talk. So I could just keep talking. We could just stay here for all day. We could do more yoga, hang out, and but I don't want to over talk. So let me stop here. I have a million more things I could say, but I'll wait and see what kind of questions. Is that what we do?
Yeah, and if you don't have questions, she did tell me we have to get up and do more yoga,
So yeah.
It's up to you all, whatever you think works.
Yes.
Where's your studio?
My studio is on the corner of East Center and South Kentucky. So it's right down from the big Methodist church. It's a little brick building with green shutters, and it's catty corner from the Hertz building that used to be Foxy's.
The Fowler Building?
I've been told that. Oh, the Fowler Building. I'm like, sure, yes. Yeah. The Fowler Building, that's the one. But yes, I don't know.
It is.
It is. Yes.
Just observation. I was thinking when I came in here, what does her business have anything to do with my business? How would they be?
Well, I don't know what your business is.
But as you were talking, I could tell what the connection is.
Okay.
Ours, when we started a long time ago, was in a service business, my brother and I. And what we did when we started, we had the enthusiasm you did, and we kept up the enthusiasm. We developed a problem, and it's a growth problem. And you're gonna run into it where you are really busy and really enthusiastic, and everybody likes to come to you. And at some point, you reach your limit on how much you can do. You can only handle so many classes, and then you've got to hire somebody. And that's where things kind of lose some of the enthusiasm. Because the people you hire will never have your enthusiasm about that business.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is what we found when my brother and I started in the refrigeration service business, and we were doing the grocery stores and things like this. As long as it was he and I doing it, we could go up to Mary Ann, we could work on her cooler, and
Many times.
pardon?
Many times.
Many times. But the point of it is since it was our business, we took special interest to make her happy, because that's, we wanted to stay in business. So once you grow to the point where you have to start hiring service people, be prepared. You get the best people you can,
Right.
but they'll never have your enthusiasm without it. They quit and go home at 4:30, and so you need to keep in mind, I guess, as you grow at some point, you're going to have to hire some people that know yoga and that they can do the best they can and get as close to your enthusiasm as you can get.
That is excellent. Excellent.
It's just kind of I see the progression of where you're going.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I
that's
think you'll get there.
exciting. That's exciting. Thank you. You know, and I've thought about that. One of the things in terms of how I do want to grow is to eventually start to train teachers myself to have yoga. I tiptoed, I dipped my toe a little bit into that. I just finished a 5-week intensive workshop called the Yoga of Transformation. And although mainly it, is a self-inquiry workshop, we all have things in our life we want to transform, and yoga is a wonderful tool for transformation. Really, it was sort of a little mini teacher training, not in terms of actually teaching the postures, but in terms of the philosophy and the kind of history that you need to know to move in there. And also the introspection you have to have, the ability to actually stop. And my teacher once said, take your darkness to tea. Sit down with the parts of yourself that you don't like or that scare you, and actually look at them face to face and see what happens, because guess what, you'll live, you'll be okay. And so I had 4 people just graduate from that program who I could see moving in that direction, who have expressed interest. Now, obviously that's not I can't personally train every single person that I end up hiring, but I think beginning to build that foundation might be helpful. But no, I absolutely agree. And I ran into that already, just in terms of getting to the point of feeling really, really busy. And in yoga, it's kind of an interesting thing to be in the business of yoga, because one of the things that yoga teaches us is looking at ourselves and knowing our limits and self-care. If I'm offering, Carol tons of, she's coming to all my classes because it's really helping her, but I don't have time to practice myself because I'm so busy teaching everyone else in town, well, my teaching is going to eventually suffer. And it's the same thing, you can repair everyone else's refrigerator, but then your refrigerator breaks and you don't have the energy for that one, so what do? And so I recognize that, but that's really, really excellent advice, and I appreciate hearing it very much.
After 2 months, you're not there yet.
No, I know.
But you're getting there.
Oh, I know.
That's what you just said is, what was it, Ross Perot said college children never have shoes, or something like that. You might know.
Oh, yeah.
College, they make shoes, yeah.
Right, no, I know the college. I told you I have a VHS tape. Not like
Massage therapists never get massages, yeah.
What about in yoga? What would you say right now your class
I would
ratio
say,
is?
surprisingly, it would probably, well, maybe not surprisingly, I should, any expectation on it for you. I've been surprised that I actually have. I started having men at the YMCA immediately. And so I say now it's probably 80% women, 20% men, but I think that's actually pretty good. I think that there are some, it would be reasonable to say I had 99% women. That would be believable, because men seem to have sort of a fear, like men don't associate with doing yoga, and women are like, oh, let's do some yoga. So, but I do have some men. It's not something I've given a ton of thought to in terms of marketing more to men.
There are a lot of stressed out men out there in Madisonville.
There's actually a whole, there's this thing called broga, like bros. There's a thing called broga, and actually there's tons of great resources and articles, and I've posted them before on my Facebook page about why men really, really, really need to do yoga. And so maybe eventually I will figure out a way to hone in. But right now I do. I have at least one guy in every class I teach normally, and sometimes more. I had one time at the YMCA, my time hop told me this the other day, that I had a class where I had more men than women. That's happened once, where I had more men than women. But it's definitely a market that's out there.
How large is your class sizes, and how many do you do in a week?
Right now, I was teaching 6 days a week before, 6 days a week after Y. And I now I still teach 6 days a week. I have classes and sometimes 2. So the beginning of my week is more heavy. I have 2 classes on Monday, 2 classes on Tuesday, 2 classes on Wednesday. I also work full time at the United Way, by the way. So I have to be there soon. But no, that's it. So I teach 2 classes each day, Monday through Wednesday, and then on Thursdays I teach one class Friday, I teach two actually, so I guess it's not that balanced. And then Saturday I teach one, and then I usually have a workshop. One decision I made early on was that, and it's hard to stick to, because I'm a yes kind of person, but I decided Sunday was my day off. The end of story, done deal. I will not teach you yoga on Sunday. I won't do it. I mean, unless there's you have a yoga emergency. You can call my private yoga emergency number and I will, right? But barring some yoga emergency, I will not teach Sunday. And so it's hard for me. And I would be lying if I said I have been really good. I haven't taught on Sundays, but I have all that paperwork to do. I need to get that spreadsheet updated. And so, I might sneak in. I have been known to sneak into my office and do some work. But I don't teach on Sunday, and I'm trying not to do anything related to business, anything at all. Take one day off. That's really important for me. And people will say to me, I get it all the time, well, if you just have like 1 o'clock, I could just come straight from church to your studio, and that would be so great. And yeah, that would be so great. But if I do that, I'm not going to be able to maintain the quality of the classes that I was talking about. And I have to go class by class. They have to be excellent. Every class has to be the best I can do in that moment. So it might not always be excellent, but it's the best I can do in that moment. To answer your other question though, in my studio, the Center Street side, you open up, there's an entrance, and I have 2 rooms. So I have my office and sort of waiting area, and then I have a workshop room. And I can fit 8 people in that room, which I actually did on Monday at noon. It was interesting. We were squeezed in. It's a really nice room though. Then there's a door that opens up to the space that I technically share with the dance studio. So Natalia and I work together on the schedule. We have a big, nice floor. And I can fit about 20 people in that room. And I've had, I think the most I've had in there was maybe 18. And so I try to cap some of the work, like the beginner series, I try to cap it at 16, mostly because it gets to a point where I can't give people the attention they need if I get much bigger than that, but also for space purposes. I saw.
I was just going to piggyback on what you were saying, and you were focused on that you need a day off so that you could remain a good teacher. What went unsaid, but I think is at least as equally true, is we all have to maintain lives.
Yes.
We all have to have that personal space for rejuvenation. Aside from how it may negatively impact your business if you don't give yourself that.
That's good to hear, because I'll have like guilt associated with that.
And I mean, all of us in here in one way or another are entrepreneurs, so we all get the drive, the 24/7, but if you really go 24/7, and I'm saying this out loud because so that Maria, my wife, doesn't have to remind me of this. We've got bikes loaded up on the back of our car right now and are headed up to Evansville to ride today. So you got to do that for yourself.
Thank you. That's good. That's really wonderful to hear. It's so great to get input from such really incredible human beings. Yes.
I have a question about your marketing. You've talked about how you've built your clientele, I guess, up by doing classes at various locations for the past several years. Have you tried to, or are you focusing now on marketing to people who have no experience with yoga or may have some preconceived notions of it, or are you focusing more on folks that have some experience through classes with you?
I am focusing on the former. I'm focusing on people who do not have yoga experience and or have preconceived notions about yoga, because I think that is where there is the most room for growth, and also where I can do the most good. Not to sound super idealistic and cheesy, but those are the people I want to reach, because this practice, when I say it will change your life, it's not hyperbolic. It will actually change your life. And you can go online and just Google benefits of yoga, benefits of meditation, and you can see. And it's not just, happy, lovey, hippy-dippy people and like, yes, yoga is wonderful. It's MIT, it's Harvard. Kripalu, where I did my training, Kripalu has an Institute for Extraordinary Living that's a partnership with Harvard University. And they do real deal serious research, which makes my dad really happy because he's a chemist and he's very science-oriented. So he wants to hear the actual, science of this stuff. So it's out there. They can look at your brain in an MRI machine on meditation and off of meditation, and there's a difference. They can look at your spine, and so doing all of this research, and so there's really these benefits, and I think that there's this desperate need for it everywhere, but especially in our community. So I'm focusing on that in terms of marketing. I am focusing on the beginner series a lot. That's a 4-week series I've developed. I developed it, and it's one of those great things where you do it once, and now I have all of my stuff done and my handouts, and I have my class plans, so I can just keep doing it. And so I'm focusing on offering that, and it's 4 weeks, Wednesday nights. I might add another one because the interest has been really, really high. In that specifically, people are scared. They're scared to just show up for a class. They want to be eased in, and this is a great easing in, is this beginner series. So yeah, I would say that's my focus. Of course, I have to constantly balance that with my students who have been practicing with me for 5 years, and they want a challenge, and they want to sweat, and they have this desire to, do the fancier yoga poses and stand on there. Kelly has sent me pictures before of people how do I do that? Show me how to do that. You feel all twisted up. Okay, we can do that. But so I have to balance that. And that's really my biggest teaching challenge, just to sort of tangent a little bit, is that all of my classes are open to everybody. And it's really different teaching a total beginner than teaching someone who's been practicing for 5 years. So how do you create a class that meets 2 very different needs and 2 very different fitness levels and 2 very different mindsets? And so that's why I'm trying to break it down a little bit and have the beginner series focused for people who are brand new. I have a Tuesday night vigorous vinyasa class that anyone is welcome to do and can. All of you can come to that class, and I would make sure you were okay. I really would. But that's more focused on my students who have been practicing. So yeah, it's a balancing act. Oh, I didn't even mean to be funny. Yeah.
So, you used to charge $5 for your friend to teach her an hour of yoga. What do you charge now?
Well,
That's not the case.
no, I no longer charge $5 for an hour of yoga. And that was something, I did a lot of work. I did a bunch of, women in yoga, financial teleconferences, and learning how to understand your worth and the exchange and the product you're providing, the service you're providing, and its value, and teaching people the value. And so, 5 years ago, yes, I taught my friend for $5. Now, I have several private clients who pay me $60 an hour to teach. And it's totally in line. What they tell you in yoga school and in this industry is that you should look at what massage therapists charge. An hour of massage, an hour of yoga should be, equivalent. Because really, and those of you who have ever done yoga, and especially if you were to do a private with me, the way you leave feeling, it can be very similar. A lot of times we'll say in yoga that it's a self-massage. And so, yeah, so that's what I did. And it took me a while I was really uncomfortable saying that, when people will contact me and say, how much? I want to do an hour, I want to do private yoga with you, how much? And I was terrified. I was and then I realized if I accepted that value, because I know that I would pay that. I would pay that for massage. I would pay that. I would pay that for yoga. When I realized the value there, I just started getting a little more confident about saying it, and I realized if I didn't make a big deal out of it, the people that wanted the service didn't even blink. They'd be like, okay, great, cool.
So what about your beginner's class? What is that going to cost?
My beginner's class is an excellent value. The beginner series is $49 for 4 weeks of yoga, including materials. Sign you up. Go on my website, because I actually have a website that is completely integrated with my Square, and so you can go on my website to click workshops, and you can click register, and then you can just put it in your basket and send it on its way to me. So yeah, it's $49 for 4 weeks. And I've had a lot of people, when I've done a ton of research on different places, that's low. That's low comparative compared to places, even, you know, if you look at Paducah and Henderson and Hopkinsville, try to look in our surrounding area, it's low, but I want it to be accessible. I want people to get in the door. Yes, ma'am?
Hilary, I've met you over the years, but you're full of energy, and I think that's great. I've been taking classes from Bonnie for the last few months, but she's directly across from my studio, and I have no excuse not to go. And I'll just say, it really has made a big difference in how I feel, even if I'm going once a week. But I would love to see, because, I mean, I know about you, and I know about Bonnie, but I don't know how many other people in the whole general area know. I would love to see the two of you maybe come together and do not so much a workshop, but maybe a demonstration at a Friday Night Live or something.
That's
Yoga
a
on
great
the courthouse
idea.
steps or something like that.
That's a great
That
idea.
people, because most people, I think, when you say yoga, they think postures, they think poses, rather than the breathing and the relaxation that you can also get from it. And it works from the inside out.
Yeah.
I think that'd just be a great thing to do.
And you know, Bonnie and I have talked about that. Interestingly, I've known Bonnie for a long time, and I met her when she accidentally walked into my yoga class. It was the YMCA, it was like 2011 or something, 2012, and this girl walks in, and she kind of looks around, sort of, I said, "Hi, are you here for yoga?" And she said, "For what?" I said, "For yoga. Are you here for yoga?" She said, "No." I said, "Well, why don't you stay? It's going to be really fun." And she said, "Okay." And she had never done yoga before, ever. And she fell in love with it, which is common. People do this practice and they fall in love with it. And so she fell in love with it, and then she came to me and said, "I want to do a teacher training." And I said, "Do it, go do a teacher training." She did her training in Evansville. So, you know, Bonnie and I, she took a lot of yoga from me, and she was a part of my meditation group that met in my house for several years. So we have discussed that. You know, it's just logistics. It's a matter of figuring out schedules. But I think that's a great idea, and I like the demonstration idea a lot.
I can be part of it, just so they can see everybody.
Yeah, that's an awesome idea. I love it. I will definitely. We've talked about trying to do, because we both have tons of interest in the beginners series. That's where the big, interest is coming. And so we've discussed, is there a way we could do a beginner series together where we bounce between our places? There's some space limitations in her space, and so it would be, we're trying to work that out. But I think that's a great compromise to do something like that, and that would be like a one-time. Oh, I love it. Everyone else can be
First of all, I think it's great that you and Bonnie have a good relationship. I think that is huge for our community to just kind of share each other and send people here and there. And but anyway, you said you're full time, have a full time job somewhere else. Are you planning in the future, if business really picks up and booming, doing your business full time and teaching full time?
Well, that's a loaded question, because the chair of the Board of Trustees and the Board of Directors of United Way is in the room. With that said, with that said, honestly, I've thought about that. I have thought about that. And would that be a dream? Absolutely. I'm not focusing on that right now, and that's honest. I would say the exact same thing if Rufus wasn't here, I swear. I love what I do with the United Way, and it fills a need that I also have, which obviously I'm very invested in community service and community action and being part of the community, and so I have a lot of fun doing what I do with the United Way. And so, I'm not looking in that direction right now. Could that happen? Absolutely. I've already thought in terms of, say things do pick up and pick up and pick up, would Chip and I be able to discuss more of a flexible schedule, more of coming in, the job I do there, the person who had it right before me was part-time. So I have some flexibility. So I'm not thinking in terms of ever, or at least right now in the near future, leaving that position, but rather trying to keep it going.
To put words in Mr. Tate's mouth, but we'd be willing to work with you.
I would say, Chip and I work really well. We have our day of caring. I'll plug the United Way while I'm here. We have our day of caring on Friday at Moore Park, and so this has been an intense week at the office. As you can imagine, I've been putting together 150 goodie bags. They're really cute, by the way. And not because I put it together, just because Baptist gave us this. Sorry, I shouldn't probably say any names of companies, but we have our day of caring, and Chip and I work really, really well together. You know, we kind of, I think we have personalities that kind of balance, and I give him a hard time, and he gives me a hard time, and it's okay. So, you know, yeah, I have thought that way, but right now I can't, I'm not gonna like look at that as a goal. I'm just gonna keep walking here, and maybe, yeah, if that 1 degree shift happens, it happens, but yes. So.
At the beginning of your talk, you touched on sort of the organizational part. My sense was that some of the aspects of starting your own business may have been new to you. What have been, in realizing that you're early on in the stages, but so far, and in the lead up to opening, what have been your business challenges, the biggest ones?
There's been so many. That part was challenging for me just to get my mind around. You know, I sat down with someone who had done it before and took notes. And I said, please just tell me step by step. I don't even know what LLC means. Like, help me. And so that was, once I understood it, then it was, oh, well, this is just filling out paperwork and going. I do have this giant tax thing on my desk right now, this huge booklet that State of Kentucky sent me. It's like 8,000 pages. I'm like, please fill this out within 15 days. And I'm like, oh my God. But so, you know, those things are challenging because I think I'm a smart girl. I think if I want to learn something, I can. But obviously, what comes more naturally to me is the enthusiasm, the creativity. You know, what I love is the teaching, is actually being in the room and teaching classes and connecting, really moreover, connecting with people and connecting with individual people and making sure they feel seen and heard. So the business aspect of it, that's what I joked with my YMCA students when I announced to them, you know, that I was going to be opening my own space, was that it was a challenge for me. I had to start thinking like a businesswoman. And that was one of the other 1 degree shifts that I had to make because I had gone 5 years. I probably could have done this a few years ago, to be honest. You know, I had the similar student base. You know, I had sort of grown, I think, as much as I could in a lot of ways at the YMCA and teaching other places and just getting my word out there, you know, just me, myself. But I couldn't, that's what hindered me, was that scary, like, what? Like, get an EIN, register with all these, that's so scary. You know, I don't know anything about that. I'm a yoga teacher, I just teach and namaste. So I had to start trying to think like a businesswoman, Hilary. You're providing this service, people want it, people love it, people need it, and you're not, it's not working exactly how it should be. And I think that when we do things, you know, I think service is great. I think doing things just for the community is wonderful. But when we constantly give our stuff away for, you know, free or really discounted, we devalue it. And we teach people, okay, this isn't actually worth $60 an hour because I can just go to the Y and it's in my membership and that's, you know, so why would I pay that lady? Do I think there's room for the Y to have a yoga teacher? Absolutely. They're different, totally different services. Taking yoga at my studio and taking yoga at the Y are, the only similarity is that it's me. But besides that, it's a completely different experience. So, you know, I think that I would love to see the Y get another yoga teacher or get Katie in there once a month or something to keep getting people, you know, to take that step in that way. But I needed to make that decision to think like a businesswoman and to stop devaluing what I was doing and the service I was providing. So that's been a challenge. Just the time management has been a challenge. You know, you can probably, like you said, I have that initial enthusiasm that maybe I'll lose. I don't know, it's been 30 plus years and I haven't lost it yet, just for life generally, but who knows. And so, you know, there was a period when I opened, when I did this in April, I mean, I flipped that space in a week. And I will say I had amazing friends and family who helped me. But I mean, I did things I'd never done before, like take down a wallpaper border and paint over it. You know, I flipped this space in 1 week and then I opened the next week. And so I was leaving the house at 6, 7 in the morning, and I was literally getting home at midnight, and I'm not exaggerating. The latest I ever got home was 1 in the morning. I locked that studio up at 1 in the morning and was like, oh, this is not good. And so, you know, that initial time management, but I knew that that was just because I was doing everything at once. I was teaching the classes, I was opening the space, I was marketing, I had to build the website. I had a website, but I really had to relaunch it. I had to do all the Square, I had to do all that business stuff. And so I knew, and it has, it already in starting month 3 now, I've gotten that stuff is done. You know, it's done. And little things pop up, like Kentucky sending me the giant book, you know, but for the most part, that part I have established, and so now I can focus. So it's gotten better, but that time management was definitely a challenge for me, because I'm not, I'll just work myself until I, like, fall over. If you let me. Chip has to tell me to leave all the time. He'll say, Hilary, leave. I say, well, I'm just gonna do this one more thing. I just want to get, Hilary, leave. So I have to balance. I have to work on balance in that way too. Yes?
I think one of the things that I hear you say is going to be typical of any new business startup, anybody that wants to be in business. You know very well about what you do, the yoga, but what you don't know is the peripheral stuff, and you're trying to do it yourself. If you have something wrong with your body, you go to a doctor.
Yes.
You don't try to fix it yourself.
Yes.
So there are attorneys, there are accountants, there are insurance people, there are people that do this professionally that will get you in the business so you can go on doing yoga.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's good to use those people.
I will.
It took me a while to learn that.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, that's good. Good advice also. Carol.
Me? I have noticed, you know, we talked about money and, you know, with all the health clubs, new, you know, gyms in town.
I just saw that on Main Street yesterday.
They've got 4 and there's a 5th one coming, I think, whatever. It's exciting because, you know, and like massage therapy too, there's even more. It seems like we're kind of going toward a more healthy and even like at one of the gyms at State of 24, Greg is doing this movement now, and he's going around and exercising with people in their offices. And I think I mentioned that, I know I mentioned you to him. Because he's like, yeah, it'd be cool to get someone to do yoga in these offices too. Like, he goes in on their lunch hour and just says, come on, everybody, we're gonna work out. What do you think the popularity is due to? What have you seen, and how do you think this is gonna last? I mean, I hope it does, but.
I do think it's gonna last. I think that we're seeing a shift generally, and actually a study one of the most recent was Boston University or MIT, but they were saying that it's predicted that within the next 10 years, doctors will actually be prescribing yoga and meditation. You know, so, and that's specific to those things. I'm not getting to the broadness of your question, and I will. But, you know, because the science is now backing up a 5,000-year-old tradition, because the science is now saying, you know, people are more and more open to it. And I have a lot of people already coming to me who say, well, my doctor told me I need to do yoga. My doctor recommended that I do this, or my nurse practitioner, or my therapist. I mean, you know, people are recommending it. But they think that it's going to be, and massage is the same. You know, there are serious health benefits. You know, people think of massage as a luxury. You know, sometimes, some people, but I think we're seeing that shift where people are realizing that massage is actually something, it's just as, you know, going to an exercise class, the release, the myofascial release, all of these things. So we're moving from where these things are luxuries to where there are ways that we can take care of ourselves without popping more pills. And so I do think that we're shifting overall, you know, as a culture and as a country. And I think that Madisonville, it's really been amazing to be here for the past 5.5 years, because I have seen such a shift. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. You probably have. I mean, I have missed it. Like I said, when I moved here in 2009, there was 1 yoga class a week. And now we have 2 studios in town. I mean, that's within 5.5 years.
They're both doing very well.
They're both doing very well. And I used to say, a year ago, I would have said exactly the same thing, not in this context, but I was saying all the time, especially in my moments of feeling bad or my weakness, I would say, Hilary, you've got to buck up, because you moved here, there was 1 yoga class, and now you're teaching 15 classes, you know, a week, and they're full. So if I did, not that I was the single-handed, you know, pioneer woman doing it, but if I was able to do that within a few years, then, you know, there is a shift. When I first moved here in 2009, I would pack up my laptop and go to McDonald's because it was the only place in town, you know, that I could just sit down, open my computer, get a cup of coffee, and work. I've been in big cities all my life where I didn't really stay in my apartment much. Like I would pack up my stuff, I'd go to the local coffee shop, I would go to some kind of little art gallery, someplace I could just sit and write. I have written a lot and do things, just do my life other places. And so when I first moved here, I went to McDonald's and they looked at me like I was nuts. I mean, like, are you just gonna sit there for 3 hours? I was like, yes, I am. Just keep the coffee coming. No, I don't want french fries. Yes, I do want french. No, I don't want french fries. And now, you know, we have a big city. We have this coffee shop. We have live music. At least three nights a week down at the Crowded House. Sorry, am I not supposed to talk about places in town? But I mean, you know.
We talk about the one you're standing in.
Yeah, we have this amazing space, this room. We have our United Way meetings in here, and it's phenomenal to be able to use the technology. I mean, it's changed. I've seen just this change in 5.5 years. So I do think we're seeing a larger change in terms of how people are approaching their health. I think we finally realized for a long time it was just, well, what pill can I take to fix that? And then suddenly, you know, you have people taking bags. You know, I have students, they'll be like, oh, could you hand me my pill bag? And it's like a tote. Yeah. I'm like, oh, here's your pill bag. And there's just like a million, you know. And we're realizing that there's a cost of popping these prescription medications all the time. You know, maybe it does help one thing, but it hurts another thing in your body. And so I think people are looking for ways to be healthy, you know, to improve their health, to improve their well-being, to improve their peace of mind that don't involve, you know, a pharmaceutical. Now, I have nothing against pharmaceuticals. You know, like my dad would always say, better living through chemistry. He's a chemist, so you know, yes, there's obviously a need for that. But I think that we're way above what we actually need to be doing. There's a lot of things that we can do, and so I think we're seeing that in Madisonville as a microcosm, and then on a larger scale. Do you agree?
I do.
Yay!
Totally. I just want to see if it was out there.
I think so. I think so.
Other questions?
I don't even know what time it is. What time is it?
4.
It's only 8:24. Oh, 8:24. That's right. We started 7. I was like, we've only been talking for 20 minutes.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
I had put my notes, I had the future and growth. I think that's sort of, do you see, you know, because I saw like the first time I came to your class, I was like, looking at her, and I was like, oh, heck, she's gonna outgrow this place. So, and I know with you and your sister-in-law, whatever you call her.
Sister.
Yeah, that she, that, you know, I can see as you get busier that you're going to need more
Yeah.
time. So what?
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely a thing, and it's something that we have already talked about. We for a moment, Natalia and I, we've looked at spaces. We've looked at other places in town. We've been to several places and talked to several people. And it hasn't been right. I'm also not really wanting to move this quickly. You know, I would rather sort of be where I am and get settled and figure this out before having to do that all over again. But yeah, that is going to happen. That's inevitable. And so, you know, I'm just kind of going moment by moment. And for that period of time where we were going and seeing these buildings and trying to figure out, you know, the overhead and what would this be and how would we do this. And we saw places where we talked about renovations, we met with contractors. I mean, we did a lot of research. And I realized, I said to her, I think we're going too fast. I think we need to stop, get centered, you know, and ride this out a little bit longer. Because I think if it was the right thing, if the right place was there, then it would have not been such a complete nightmare. And you know, and so maybe it will still be a nightmare when this happens, but I don't think it needs to happen right now. But definitely. And you know, we have all sorts of ideas. I mean, Natalia Borden, she should come in here and speak, actually, stellar dance center. But Natalia, you know, she's talked a lot about eventually building her own space, and specifically building it so that we could have both the dance and the yoga. You know, so it's a matter of balancing. So do we sort of stay and make do and save money and save money and save money so that we can just build exactly what we want, as opposed to trying to fit ourselves into something that's already existing. But yeah, it's just day at a time. I have to go day at a time where I will lose my mind.
Any other questions?
I would like to interject one thing. If you didn't sign in on your way in, would you please sign in on the way out? There's a sign-in sheet on the table by the door.
Well, and let me just have you guys close. As we open this way, let's just close this way. You don't have to stand up, but just sit up a little bit straighter. Yep. Just bring your hands to your heart center. Just close your eyes. And just for the next moment, focus on your breath. Watch your breath. You don't have to change it. Just notice that you're breathing. And feel the ebb and flow of the inhale and the exhale. This is your companion, your buddy you've had since the day that you were born. You will have it until the day you are no longer in this body. And you can come back to it again and again. So as you go through your Wednesday, when things get a little chaotic, notice your breathing and everything is okay. Take a deep breath in. Let it go through the mouth. Namaste. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for everyone coming. For some of us laid back, type B personalities, you know. My wife's going like this. Anyway, there's a place obviously for being able to eat and press and get more limber and all of that. Thanks for sharing your business journey with us, and best of luck to you. We'll be back again next week. One of the things, really want you to feel a part of this. Yes, there's a handful of us that are organizers of this. And I guess we sort of have taken on the principal responsibility for finding good speakers and inviting people. Y'all are as much a part of this as the organizers are. And so I want to encourage you as you think of people, not only to invite to sit in the pews as it were, but to come present, to share their entrepreneurial journey. We need you to talk with those people and then share that with us. So we'll build an even stronger organization if we work together on this. We've got some exciting things coming up, and so we'll see you next Wednesday at 7:30. Thanks for being here.
And I have cards if you want one. You might want to give them that I know I messed up. I said it was the same.
Hey.
Yeah. Sarah walked in.